Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anthony, and in my last video that I posted, in the comment section, somebody asked a question because I said in my last video, I published like 7 books already, through my company, and the question was, how can they publish their first book, or how to publish their first book? Just point blank, they said they want to publish their first book. So in this video, I'm going to reveal to you how to publish your first book. And not just how to publish your first book, at least 3 to 4 steps on, how to publish your first book. Because you can publish your first book with less than $100, to tell the truth. Because I just realized that my clients are the ones who is pushing me to release this information out. And I said, it's not really anything that's hidden. It's not really anything that, you can't learn what's not out there. But there's some strategies and some tips that I have shown my clients to make it easier for them to publish their books. Because I remember, like, the first time I published my book, this was years ago, I sat down at the table and I had an idea. I said, I want to write my first book. This is like 2014. I said, I'm going to write my first book. So I sat down. Matter of fact, let me get out the car. Because if I sit in the car all day in this nice AC, I'm not going to do my walk yet. I ain't do no walk yet. And since you're my friend, I tell my friends on how to do the things that I do with my clients. And since you're my friend, I'm going to reveal to you, how to publish your first book while I'm doing my walk. So, like I was saying before, I sat down at the kitchen table. I had the idea. I had my book, my notebook, my pen, and my paper. I had a bottle of water. I had some potato chips. I don't eat potato chips now, but back then I had my potato chips. Sat down at the table. I said, okay, I'm gonna write my book. I got the idea. I sat at the table, started writing. About an hour later, I had a paragraph. One paragraph. And I was frustrated. I was like, oh man, I gotta write something. I didn't have no idea what to write. I know what to write, but I had no idea on, how to formulate it, how to put it together. Let me go this way. How to formulate it and put it together. So I just was sitting there writing, and at the end of the day, I had 2 paragraphs. So I was saying to myself, man, I gotta do something. So I'm gonna pick it back up tomorrow. So the next day, I came back, sat at the kitchen table, I had my chips, I had my water, had the pen and paper, sat down, started writing. End of the day, had another paragraph. I was like, yo, this is too much. This is too much work. It's too much work. I ain't trying to do it all like this, man. Nah, I ain't trying to do this. So the point is, I gave up. I was like, this is too much work. I need some help. So after a while, I did my research. Back then, I found a mentor. Well, not really a mentor. I read some of his books. And he gave us like a framework on, how to write, how to put the words together. Notice the start, the middle, and the ending. And I followed that. And I wrote my first book. I might post it in comments. My first book, Master Keys to the Kingdom, Who You Are in Christ, The Believer's Way of Life. And I wrote that book, and the method I used, I found it by accident. Yeah, he gave me the framework, and I used the framework, but I said, I'm gonna take the easy route. I'm gonna do an audio book. So I did an audio book. I'm sitting there at the table trying to write it out. I don't know about you, but I think faster than I write. My hand can't catch up to my mind. So I sat back. And said, I'm gonna do an audio book first. So I used the framework, recorded myself, and said, I don't like the way I sound. Oh man, forget this. I did the whole book. I said, forget this. I was going to erase it. But something in my mind said, keep it. Something in my mind said, keep the recording. Why? Because that is literally your book. Now, I say that to say this. Here are the steps that you can use to publish your first book. But before I tell you the steps, I want to remind you the why. Because I can tell you the how, but if you don't have a why to back up your how, you're just going to be floating in the air saying, this is how I'm going to write my book. I'm going to write my book this way, that way, that way. But the why is the reason why you're writing your book. So, I ask my clients, why do you write a book? Or why do you want to write a book? They might say, well, I just want to write. I want to tell my story. I want to say this. I know how to write. I know I got a recipe I want to pass down. I got something to say. That's good. That's good. But this is what I tell my clients. The first thing I tell my clients is the why, like I told you. And the first thing I want them to have in their mind, you were chosen. You were chosen. The world needs to hear your story. Why the world needs to hear your story? Because your story is unique unto you. Nobody lived the life that you lived. Nobody experienced the things that you experienced. And not only experience the things you experienced from your perspective. Two people can have the same experience, but the way that they think and their perspective can have totally different outcomes. Totally different outcomes. Two people can walk down the street and see a car accident. One person will say, well, the red car ran the red light. The other person will say the other car ran the red light. Only one car ran the red light. But you have a different perspective of the same experience. I know that might not be a good example, but what I'm trying to say is your experience and perspective is unique unto you. And you were chosen to share that story. The second point is of your why you should publish your first book. You have people assigned to you. You have people assigned to you that when they hear your story, and not only hear your story, hear your voice, they will be activated in their spirit. Activated to move according to what you have shared with them. Your experience, your excitement, your influence, when they hear you, they will move to some form of action because you are their leader. If they know it or not, you are their leader. So people that are assigned to you will come to you when you speak, when they hear you. Not only they will hear you, they will feel you. And when they feel you, they will know you because your story resonates with them. See, what I'm doing now, I'm sharing with you part of my story. Part of my story is I help people create a life worth living instead of living a life of survival. Why? Because in my story, I know I have people assigned to me. I know I have people assigned to me, and I'm not, my voice doesn't resonate with everybody. Everybody can't accept what I put out. So the people that's assigned to me will hear my voice and say, wow, he's telling me how I could publish my first book. He's telling me that I'm chosen. Yes, you are chosen. Because the story that you have is specifically designed for you. And you experienced it. And people that are assigned to you will draw unto you. And the third point, your story is designed to minister to others beyond your comprehension. Let me say it again. Your story is designed to minister to others beyond your comprehension. Let me give you an example. When I was 16, let me go back. When I was 10, I met my father. Yeah, you might say, well, he met his father when he was 10. Yeah, I met my father when I was 10. And when I met my father, you know, it was like a love-hate relationship. Why? Because I love to hate him. That was a joke. That's a joke. It's supposed to be laughing. But it was like a love-hate relationship. I loved to hate him because he was strict. He was a former boxer. You know, he's big like me. You know, see, I think I got a little bit of muscles. I got a little bit of muscles. But he was a boxer and he was strict. And at the time, you know, 10 years old, I wanted to do everything my way. He was like, well, you can't do everything your own way. You got to do it my way. He's like, do it my way or the highway. All right, yeah, cool. All right, fine. You know, I'm a little kid. I don't know no better. And, you know, he got muscles. And at that time, I ain't had no muscles, so I had to do what he said. But I didn't like it. So it was like a love-hate relationship. Got to do chores. Got to clean my room up. Got to do this, do that. I don't want to do it, but, hey, that's a story. But by the time I turned 16, it got better. And since it got better, I was like, oh, wow, this is good. You know, taking us to the baseball games and you know, going outside, playing football and doing things a child should do with his father. And that love-hate relationship turned into a, you know, love relationship. So one day I came home from school and, you know, like I said, my father's a boxer. He liked to exercise. And I came home and he was laying on the ground and I was like, okay, well, you know, he's doing his little sit-ups, push-ups, whatever. And I went in my room. And the time I came back out, he's still on the ground. I said, oh, man, something wrong. Something must be wrong because he's still on the ground. This was like almost a half hour later. You know, he ain't doing push-ups for no half hour like that. So he went over there and I'm looking at him. And it was like, he was like barely breathing. He was barely breathing, and I was like, "Oh man, something going on. Let me see what's going on." So I got closer to him, and I looked, and like he was barely breathing. I was like, "Oh man, he must have had a heart attack or something." And I'm looking, and I'm like, "Oh man, like you know, he hardly breathing." I'm looking, and what am I supposed to do? What can I do? And I'm looking, and I'm starting to panic. I was like, "Nah, let me calm down. Let me calm down." And I was like, if he's having a heart, I gotta do like CPR. And I remembered last week, Punky Brewster had a TV show, and on the show that week, they had, you know, her friend Sherry was trapped in the refrigerator, and they took her out, and Punky was like, okay, well, you know, I remember CPR, and you gotta, you know, do the chest compressions 3 times, and then you pinch your nose and breathe in the mouth. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. I remember how to do that. And, you know, you got to do the chest compressions. I started doing chest compressions, and I started pinching his nose, and I breathed in his mouth, and I did the chest compression again, and then I breathed in the nose and the mouth, and I said, I must be doing something wrong because I don't see no results. And I cried to my mom, so I said, Mom, call 911. You know, something's happening. But my mother wasn't even in the house, but I still called for my mom's. I called for my mom's, and I was there by myself, and I started to panic, and I said, if I only remembered what I was supposed to do, 2 or 3 chest compressions. Should I pinch the nose before the chest compression, or should I breathe into the mouth and then do the chest? I didn't know what to do. I panicked. I said, if I could only remember, if I paid attention, if I only paid attention. And by the time the paramedics came, he was gone. He died in my arms. And from that point, for maybe 10 years, 15 years later, I was living with the perception of I didn't pay attention to something so valuable that could have saved my father's life. And I beat myself up for it. I beat myself up for it because I didn't pay attention to a TV show the week prior that could have saved my father's life. But my perception was I didn't pay attention. That was my perception. But my sister, who put it in my head one day I came over and she was like, what's wrong with you? Because I was living, angry with myself, angry with the world, because I met my father at 10 and the world took my father at 16 because I didn't pay attention. And my sister was like, no, what's wrong with you? I said, it was my fault because he died. And she was like, stupid, what's wrong with you? Don't you know when the paramedics came, he was still alive? They told me he was still breathing, he was alive, and you kept him alive until they got there, but he passed away while they was trying to put him in the ambulance. And I was like, I did keep him alive? I did remember enough to keep him alive until the paramedics came? Yeah. For years, I lived with that. For years, I lived with, if I only paid attention. For years, I lived with, I failed because I didn't pay attention to the little things that could have saved my father's life. But I did pay attention enough that he was alive. I'm saying that to say this. Your perception, your story can change the lives of many people. And I told this story, I can't even count how many times I told this story. And I can't count how many times people come up to me and said, my father died while I was in the house too. And you touched me and you helped me and my brother that's over there get over this. Just by you sharing it. Thank you, Anthony, for sharing your story. See, your story is designed to minister to others beyond your comprehension. So now, I'm glad you heard my story. I'm glad you have the why that you should publish, or why you should publish your book. Let me tell you the how. Because I know you didn't hear my story to say, oh, he told me the why. I don't want to know the how. No, I'm going to tell you the how to write or how to publish your first book. Pick an experience that you've been taught a valuable lesson. Pick an experience that has taught you a valuable lesson. Let me get myself back together. Pick an experience that has taught you a valuable lesson or a life lesson or whatever it is. Pick an experience. Like I picked the experience of my father dying in my arms and the perception of thinking that if I paid attention, I could have saved his life. Pick a valuable lesson. And the lesson that I've learned from that, perception can dictate your life. And it could be a good life or a difficult life. So, pick an experience that has taught you a valuable lesson. And the lesson that it taught me, do your best. Nothing less. Just do your best. So, that's number one. When you pick that experience, make bullet points of the important parts of that story. And when you pick and make bullet points of the important parts of that story, be the narrator of that experience. When I say be the narrator of that experience, narrate that experience that you had in a way that is authentic to you. Like when I told you my story, when my father died in my arms. I tell that story just to make the impact, to get you to listen until the point of I did my best. And by doing my best, it saved my father. At least it saved him until the ambulance came. And since it saved him till the ambulance came, my perception was he died in my arms because I didn't see no response, but he was still alive. But my perception turned my mind and my mindset to I failed. I didn't pay attention. So I was the narrator of that experience. You can narrate the experience to be a benefit to you, or you can narrate the experience to be a benefit to others, but you are the narrator of your experience. So make bullet points of the important parts. Number 3, record your first draft, either by writing it or by recording it. Either by writing it or recording it. Because like I told you before, when I first tried to write a book, 2014, I sat by the table with my bag of chips. Not only my bag of chips, with my water, my pen, and my book. And I sat back and I was like, I'm gonna write my book. I know what I'm gonna do. I got ideas. I'm gonna write the book. And it took the whole day. I had 2 chapters. Two paragraphs. Then the next day I said, oh, I know what to do. I'm gonna write it again. I got a better idea. I know how to do it. 2 more paragraphs. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have an idea of how to do it. And when I found a blueprint, not only a blueprint, when I found the framework, I wrote it down. Not only did I write it down, I recorded it. And I recorded it first. I wrote down some bullet points, then I recorded it. And not only did I record it, I recorded each chapter. When I recorded each chapter, I still didn't like it. And right before I said, oh man, I'm gonna erase all this recording because I could do it better. Like I told you before, I kept it. Because one thing I learned, content is content. And I used that recording to formulate the book called Master Keys to the Kingdom. Who You Are in Christ, a Believer's Way of Life. And that book has helped so many people that I stopped counting how many people tell me how that book helped them out their life. So number 1, how to publish your first book. This is going to be a series of lessons on how to publish your first book. And this is just the first one. First one, pick an experience that has taught you a valuable lesson, a life lesson. Even if it's just something that you learn how to cook your world famous cake to make your toes wiggle and your nose say, it smells so good. Number 2, make bullet points of the important part of that story or the experience. Number 3, record your first draft. Either write it or record it. So that's the 3 points on how to write or how to publish your first book. This is just the start. Because I want you to go on and keep on going throughout the series. I'm not giving you the whole thing, because when I teach my clients, I don't give them the whole thing in 1 hour. I don't give them the whole thing in a half a day. This is a progression of the progression and a process. It's the process of doing it step by step. So when you do it and you accomplish it, you can go back and say, oh, I did point 1, point 2, point 3 today. And by the time I have the next video out on the next steps for you to, write your first chapter, write, the next chapter, here's the idea. I'm going to give you some more points on how to publish your first book. This is just the start. And I want you to type in the feed or the comments below, I'm starting. Type in the comments below, I'm starting, to let me know that you're here, you're listening, and you're starting to write that first chapter or the ideas, or you brainstorm. Type in the feed, type in the comments. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know that you're following along. Let me know that you're going to be a part of this journey. Because why? You're my friend. I'm your friend. And I help my friends accomplish the goals that they set forth to accomplish. If you're still listening to me now, I know that you're serious. And if you're listening to me now, I know that you're going to finish and publish your first book. So type in the feed, I'm ready. Type in the feed, let's go. Type in the feed, anything in the feed to let me know that you're here and you're starting this journey with me. And I will follow you and help you get this journey and accomplish the finished goal of writing your first book or publishing your first book. So until next time, share this video with your friends. Not only share this video with your friends, like this video. Not only like this video, What else I want you to do? I want you to publish your first book. So until next time, until the next video, God bless.